Hello and welcome to episode 7 of Join Up Dots, the one after 6.
Welcome to Join Up Dots, amazing conversation. Join Up Dots, get a dose of motivation. Join Up Dots, don't forget the inspiration. Welcome to the place that's got the light. Join Up Dots, Join Up Dots, Join Up Dots, Join Up Dots. Join up Dots.
Yes, hello there once more. It is me and you are listening to Join Up Dots. Today's guest is someone who, from the first moment that I heard his story, I just knew that I had to have him on the show. And boy, aren't I glad that he said yes. A family man and a dreamer, for over 12 years he followed the path that he felt was right. The same path that the majority of us have trod over the years, working long hours at the expense of seeing his children and family, striving to build a business that ultimately didn't fulfill him, and banishing the dreams that he had to be a writer. He struggled on and on. Finally, with a debt of over 100,000, overweight, overstressed and deeply unhappy, he came to a crossroads in his life. He knew that he had to change direction and claim a life of his own. He needed to make his dreams come true, but still support the family that he loved. How did he do it? Well, you're about to find out as we start joining up the dots with today's guest, the amazing Kimanzi Constable. How are you today, sir?
I'm really good, David. I'm living the dream. I'm enjoying life. And I'm actually, since I know I was going to talk to you, I'm kind of missing London.
Oh, have you been over here before then?
Yes, I went to speak at a company there in October, and I brought my wife. It was her first international trip. So we did London, and then we took a bus ride to Paris. But yeah, London was amazing.
And I bet the bus ride to Paris was horrendous.
It was like 9 hours.
Yeah.
And then it was kind of wild because when we were crossing the border, they searched the bus and they found that there was like a stowaway on the bus.
And what happened to him?
He got held by customs, of course, and then they had to thoroughly search the bus even more. So it took like 3 hours.
I without boring you on this, I went down to Paris on a coach once many years ago to see Phil Collins. Do you remember Phil Collins?
Yep.
And we sat there for about 12 hours on the coach. For about 10 hours, there was some kind of diarrhea system going through everyone. So the little toilet at the back was taking an absolute pounding, which wasn't the best place to be on a coach. And then once we got there, we walked up to the venue and he cancelled with a sore throat.
Oh man, that is horrible. The ferry, when the bus goes on the ferry though, that's a pretty cool experience.
Yeah, it's all cool as long as you don't have the diarrhea running around.
Yeah.
That's not good.
Yeah, I have to take your word on that one.
Yeah, it wasn't something that I was meaning to bring up in conversation. So if anyone's having their breakfast or whatever when they're listening to this, I do apologise. I really do apologise. So you've had a hell of a life, haven't you? Because as I understand it at the moment, you are really living the dream. You are a Hawaii man.
Yeah, as we speak during this interview, I was in Hawaii. I was in Maui for 3 weeks looking for a place for our family. I found one, and that was a challenge in and of itself. I'm back here right now in Wisconsin, Milwaukee, Wisconsin, where we were living. And in 12 days, our entire family's leaving Wisconsin for good. So we're kind of we're living in the living room. We sold all of our stuff. So
why Hawaii? Oh, no, that's a stupid question, isn't it, really? I don't know why I said that. I really have no idea. Why live in paradise?
We get asked that a lot, and we went to Hawaii in 2010, my wife and I, kind of like a 10-year-old late honeymoon. And we just, the moment we got off the plane, we just fell in love. From the moment they put the leis on us, and then we just breathed the air and tasted the food, we fell in love, and we're like, yep, this is definitely where we're going to retire. But then last year, well, it was a couple years ago, we're like, why wait till we're older and we can't really enjoy it? Why wouldn't we have our kids experience this? Why not just go for it? And of course, the doubts and the fears were like, you're never going to make that happen. Hawaii's too expensive. It's too far away. All that stuff was going through my head. But just with what I've experienced in my life, I'm like, you know what? No, we're going to go for it. We're going to make this happen. And so it was a couple of years making it happen, but it's finally happening.
Well, I certainly wish you the best of luck out there. Not that you're going to need it. Well, what a place to live. Must be amazing. Now, if I can take you back, Kimanzi, because the idea of the show is connecting the dots, joining up the dots of your life to see those moments that maybe you didn't think they were the right moments at the time. They were the challenging times, but when you look back on it, you realise that you grew, you progressed, and you kind of had to expand because of those difficult situations. Can you remember the time of your life that really the idea of Hawaii could not have crossed any part of your mind? It was beyond anything that you could comprehend.
Definitely. As you said, for 12 years, I lived a life that was just existing. It was my business. It was like a franchise situation, but it was only business in name because the main company told us what to do, when to do it, how to do it. And when I was 19 and I was doing this and I was making $55,000 at 19, it was great. It was wonderful. At 19, you can do any job. You can go out and party and do all that stuff and you're fine. But as I got married and had kids and got older, it was getting hard to only sleep 3 hours a night and wake up at midnight to go deliver bread. And I never knew enough about the business and about running a business to where I wasn't in the business. So the business grew to about $500,000 at its best year, and I had 5 employees in 3 different states. But I just was not smart with money, and I didn't know anything about business. And by the time 4 years ago, when this all came crashing on my head, I was $180,000 in tax debt. My wife and I were separated. I owed everybody you could think of. I probably owed you money back then,
And you still haven't paid?
No, I still haven't paid, and the business was just falling apart. And at that point was when I said, you know what, I have a dream of being a writer at the very worst time in my life.
But I think, that is just typical of the conversations that I've been having on a daily basis. When people look back at their darkest times, that seems to be the moment that their dreams were at the biggest, because quite obviously you want anything to get away from the situation that you're in.
Absolutely.
Could you have done what you've done if you was content in your life, do you think? Do you think you had to go through those terrible times to really change direction so radically like you have?
Yeah, I think I definitely did. I can't speak for anybody else, but yeah, for me, if the bread had gone well and everything had just gone well, yeah, I just would have been happy to deliver bread, have this bread business for the rest of my life, stay here in Wisconsin and eke out a good enough life. I didn't have any ambition or motivation to chase these big dreams that I have now. I was just content.
Because contentment is the killer of all dreams, isn't it, really?
Absolutely.
When it isn't bad enough to do something about it, you will float along. And I have floated along for many a year going, oh, I'll wait till Christmas and then I'll resign. Oh, no, that's my Christmas bonus. I'll wait till summer. And then there was always something just coming along to keep me ticking along in the job because it just wasn't bad enough to do anything about.
Yep. And you need that wake-up call sometimes to just really jolt you into reality.
So your ambition, as you say, you've got huge ambitions now. But at that time, you had no ambition. It was just a job you was doing and a job that was going extremely well. And if you didn't have all the business issues and problems around you, you would have stayed in there. So what was the catalyst for creating the ambitions that you've got now? Because you really are on a path. I'm finding your name crosses my path more often than not when I'm speaking to the motivational and inspirational people that I'm speaking to at the moment. And it seems almost that you've come from nowhere.
Yeah, definitely. Well, I was at the lowest point in my life, I told you. And really, the thing the catalyst that shook me, David, was this business that I owned got bought out by a larger company. And once this larger company came in, I was actually terrified that I wasn't going to have any business, period, with some of the things that they were doing. And that shook me. Like, I've had this comfortable existence. I've always had a steady paycheck, but now that might be going away. Like, man, you really need to start forming an exit strategy right now. And then on top of that, my father had also died. Unexpectedly, he was 54 years old. He died. People came in and they just found him laying in bed dead. And between those two things was like the jolt that I needed to finally just stop making excuses and to do something and make this change.
But you must have known what that change was. This is the thing I'm getting to. You say you didn't have the ambition, but when the jolt came, you knew the path you wanted to be on. So was it just sort of simmering under the surface all the time?
Actually, before I got to the path that I'm on, I kind of took a side tour. I thought, I want to get out of this business. What could I do? And I had so many different ideas. And I actually thought my calling was to be an event planner. And I got a chance to put this to a test right away because my sister was getting married and she asked me to plan her wedding. And to make a long story short, let's just say, David, it was a disaster. Event planning is not my calling.
Is she still married now?
She is.
By the skin of her teeth.
Yeah, my family did not disown me, although they thought about it, and they did hire a professional. So that turned out okay, and I was invited to the wedding. But that experience, trying that out, event planning, and realizing that wasn't my gift. And then I also tried out being a office manager. I thought my job was to manage an office, so I tried that. And then I also tried a few other things that I thought was my calling. And really, when I thought about it and I sat down and meditated and thought about things, something kept screaming at me, and it was writing. And during out this whole process, I had been keeping a journal of everything that was going on. And writing kept screaming at me. I can remember as far back being a little kid, being 7, 8 years old, something like that, and writing love letters to girls. So I was always writing.
You saucy young man. Does your wife know?
She does know, and because when she heard me speak in London, I was talking about ex-girlfriend who told me she knew I was going to be a writer, and I said, how? And she's like, because you used to write me love letters that were 12 pages front and back. So the first time she heard
that's
that,
not a love letter, that's funny. A love directory. 12 pages. What have you got to say?
Front and back. She said that she read about 6 of them and that was it.
Yeah, I can imagine.
So
Kimanzi, I think you've got a problem there.
Yeah. You know what? To this day, David, that's my problem is if you give me writing, I won't stop. I'll just keep writing.
Have you ever written your wife a 12-page back and front letter?
I have not written a 12-page back and front, but the book that I'm writing now, it's a book on marriage. It's called This Is My Love Letter to You. And in the beginning part of that book is a love letter to my wife, a pretty in-depth love letter to her.
So she hasn't sat there going, you've never written me 12 pages.
Oh, of course she said that. Of course she said that, yes. But I took the first part of the book and I actually put an excerpt on Facebook. And so like all her friends are like, oh, my husband doesn't do that. And then I got a lot of angry private messages from husbands.
So the thing that is fascinating with you, and literally with all my guests, is once they found that one tiny little thing, everything else seems almost to be reasonably easy. It's like if you sit down with a child who's 4 years old, 5 years old, and say, what do you want to be? They will come back and say, I want to be an astronaut, I want to be a doctor, I want to be a professional footballer. Really big dreams. But when you ask somebody who's 16, 17, 18, they don't know. And all the way through your life, you don't know. You just know what you don't want to do because you've done it and you haven't liked it. But the actual big parts, you just can't really grasp what you want to do with your life. But it doesn't have to be the big thing, does it? Just writing is such a tiny thing, but it can take you anywhere. And that's the bit that I find fascinating.
Well, and the thing, too, that I just love about the day and age we live in, David, is just the technology and social media and the internet have made it so much easier and more accessible.
I was talking to Tom Mulcahy on episode 1. Do you know Tom?
Yep.
And he was saying that his whole life would not have been possible 10, 15 years ago. He said there just was not the opportunity like we have to have a window to the world on our desktop. You log on, you're on Skype, you connect people, and you can really, you could build amazing things and tremendous momentum without even leaving your, well, not even leaving your country. You can just do it from not even leaving your home. So the opportunities that we've got are beyond anything that people in the past have had. So why do so many people not take that opportunity when they've got the systems, they've got the devices right in front of them, and most of us are proficient enough to use them to make the most of them?
I think that it's a combination of things. Doubt and fear definitely play a big part of that. But I also think, too, and I don't want to use too strong of a word here, but I want to say it's kind of brainwashing. We've been brainwashed to say, okay, I got to go to school and I got to get out of school and I got to go to college and I got to study this and then I got to get to college and get the house and get the good job and get the cars. And, you know, we call it the American dream here. We've kind of been brainwashed that this is what we must do when in our day and age, the path is a lot different. And when you see stats that 27% of college graduates get a job in their field, you know, what's the other percentage doing? And so it's kind of like that's the path that we've always taken. So that's the path we think we need to take. When the reality is the game has changed.
It's madness, isn't it? It is total madness.
Yeah.
We've got all the opportunities in the world, and we're generally recreating our parents' and our grandparents' lifestyle because it's almost what's expected of us.
Exactly.
There was a chap the other day, who was it? A gentleman called Dan Adams, and he was on the Higher Purpose Project, and he's a fascinating chap. And he was saying, statistically, it's easier to get to the moon than get a job at Taco Bell due to the fact the amount of people are trying to get a job at Taco Bell compared to the people going to the moon.
That's wild.
It is mind-blowing, isn't it, when you think that? You can sit there and you can create the most incredible, amazing, big dreams, and you've actually got more of a chance to achieve those because so few other people are going for that same dream.
And the crazy thing is you know, what we don't think about is how short life really is. Life is pretty short. You know, I remember being a young man, 19, starting that business you're talking about, and sitting here now, you know, with a 14-year-old son. Time flies really fast, and it's too short to just exist in life.
Which comes nicely to your book. You wrote a book. I'm just reading what it says. Actually, what's it called? Stop living.
Are you living or existing?
Yeah, I've got the smallest picture in front of me. I'm sorry. I'm at the age of 43 now. My eyes don't work like they used to. Yeah. So was that your first stab at writing a book?
No. During that time when everything was going on, I had had that collection of notes, and I had run across a story of a woman named Amanda Hawking. She was a 19-year-old CNA from Minnesota. She had written 17 novels by the time she was 19. And she tried to get them published, but nobody would publish them. And she decided to go the Amazon route and self-publishing. This is when it really started becoming popular. And in an 8-month span, she was able to sell 1 million copies of her self-published books. And she got a deal with Random House for $2.5 million. And I'm reading her story in USA Today, and I thought, man, if Amanda can do it, why can't I try? I don't need to sell 1 million copies. Why can't I just sell 10,000? And that would definitely be enough to leave this business that I was just hating. And so I did everything that Amanda did. I got the publisher or the editor and the formatter, and I self-published this book. It was called Tales of the Everyday Working Man and Woman. And I thought this book was going to just fly I thought people were going to buy this thing on Amazon like crazy because I'm speaking to the working man and woman out there, and I'm their voice. And the book, the day the book came out, I thought it would sell 100 copies, because friends and family and so many people had said they're going to buy it. And when I logged on to Amazon, and you know my story, David, so you know what I saw. But
Yep.
the audience member, can you guess what I saw? Yeah,
I think you sold five, was it?
I saw that first day I sold zero, and then I ended up going on to sell 5 copies in the first 6 months. 6 months.
Did you ever
I
find
sold
out who
5
bought
copies.
those 5 copies?
Yeah, 3 of them were friends, and 2 of them were to strangers.
So even
So I
all
don't,
your love-struck ex-girlfriends with their with their 20-sheet love letters didn't come on and buy.
they didn't even buy it. Not even my mom bought it.
You see, you shouldn't have wasted your time, Kimanzi.
Yeah. And so it was at that point, David, where I was ready to give up, and that was like the make it or to break it point. And right when I was just depressed and quit, I hadn't touched my computer for 2 weeks. I got an email from a guy, a 19-year-old guy who was reading my blog. And he's like, "Hey, I've been reading your blog. You've inspired me. I'm going in tomorrow to quit my job." And I'm reading this on my phone, and I almost fell over trying to type to him, "Hey man, don't quit your job." I don't want this guy to quit his job. And so I said, let's get on the phone. And I got on the phone, and it was a little awkward. And I told him, I'm not a life coach or anything like that, and I don't really know what I'm doing, but I want to help you any way that I can. So he kind of sat there and planned it out what he wanted to do. And in 1 month of us talking and planning and having these hardcore strategy sessions, he was able to land his dream job. And he called me on the phone, and he was crying, and his wife was crying, and right then and there was when I really realized what my dream was. And it wasn't necessarily to be a writer or a speaker or a coach or anything like that. My dream was to help those that felt stuck, felt like they had no other option. Maybe they didn't like, there's somebody like myself who didn't have a college degree or any special training, and they wanted to do something, but they just didn't know what they could do. And I made a vow that day that that's who I was going to help. And, that's kind of evolved now to helping the family man, because I know how hard it is for the family man to want to chase a dream, but have the responsibilities of doing it with the family. And so that's really what my dream is just to help those that felt stuck. And from that point on, David, that's when I really became a writer. And I started writing from my heart and writing about some of the things that other people wouldn't talk about. I started writing about that bankruptcy that I had to file, or that time my wife and I separated, or some of the things that I had to do just to survive. Um, and once I put that out there and I put my heart out there, that's when people started to respond. That's when people started saying, I can't believe you're writing about this. And this is just so personal, but it's really helped me in this way. And people started connecting with the message. A few of them bought the book. They shared it with their friends, the power of social media. And I self-published a second book. And over a 3-year span, both of those two self-published books ended up going on to sell 80,000 copies. And at that point was when I started getting my offers from publishers. And I'm like, I got that first offer, David, and I thought somebody was punking me. I'm like, what is this? This isn't real. And I did sign an offer with an amazing publisher called Sound Wisdom Books. And in March of last year, my first traditionally published book hit the bookstores, hit Barnes and Nobles, and I was able to walk in there with my 87-year-old grandfather and show him a book that his grandson had written was right there on the shelves.
That is inspiring, isn't it? That is a brilliant story. From those 5 to the 80,000, how long was a sort of path between the two?
It was three years.
And what made you, after those 5, not go, oh, sod this, I can't be bothered, it's not going to work, I'm no good at this, I thought I could do it, but it's never going to work, and have all those doubts and fears that every single one of us has going around us all the time? What made you sort of go back to the drawing board and go, right, okay, I only sold 5, it's not the book, it must be something that I'm doing to get the book out there? What made you change your mind on that?
Well, it was definitely that young man who really gave me a wake up call, that about my really that I've taken the focus off of myself. This isn't about me, and this isn't about the books. This is about helping people and coming from a place of service. So at that point, I didn't even look at the numbers on Amazon anymore. I just focused on helping people, being there, serving them any way I could. And then it was a matter of strategy. I had a website that had no traffic. Well, how do you get traffic to a website that had no traffic? There's a lot of ways to do it, but for me as a writer, the best way that I could do it was through guest posting on other larger sites. So in 2012, I was able to land guest posts on some of the biggest sites in my industry, personal development, guys like Michael Hyatt and Jeff Goins and Dan Miller and John Acuff, all these big New York Times bestselling authors. I was able to land guest posts on their sites. And like that day that I landed a post on Michael Hyatt's site, he has about 500,000 people that visit his website a month. That day that I landed a post, I had 20,000 visitors just that first day, and the traffic is coming in ever since. So I went from having a website and blog that was only getting about 10 people a day to this, getting over 5,000 people on my email list within a very short period of time. And so that year I sent out 30 guest posts. I was probably everywhere you could think of, and I started building my traffic. And then once people came to my site, I knew that I couldn't just shove my book down their throat anymore. I knew that's not the best way to market. I knew that people had to connect with the story and the message. And so that's what I focused on. So that, and then the combination of people sharing it on social media is what really prompted the books to start selling.
Because you are quite obviously a human, but you are really human, aren't you? It's warts and all. When you read your blog and when you read your stories, and that was the thing that resonated with me. I heard you on another podcast, and quite a lot of time with podcasts, although I'm doing one now, and I really want people to sort of focus in on the content. I'm sure a lot of people are going to be walking the dog, in the bath, and sort of vaguely listening to it. But when I heard your one, I actually put my pen down, sat back, and I listened. And it wasn't so much what you were saying, it was how you were saying it. And there was no airs and graces. And you almost seemed apologetic that you were achieving a certain amount of success, which I found kind of endearing but slightly strange at that time.
Yeah, it's when you get to this point, or you get to the point where you accomplish those big goals and dreams that you had, it's a little bit surreal. It's surreal that I could sit here at 9 a.m. talking to you on this interview and knowing that if I don't want to, I don't have to do anything else the rest of this day, and I'm still gonna generate income for my family. It's surreal to me. Sometimes I have to pinch myself.
What is the biggest what can we say, fantasy moment in your life then? You're saying that you're sitting there and you're actually making money when you could be in your pajamas, laying on the sofa doing nothing. But what is the moment when you go, my God, this is truly unbelievable what I'm achieving at the moment?
It's definitely every time I get to go and I get to speak somewhere. And in the last couple of years, I put on 300,000 frequent flyer miles, speaking at conferences, speaking in places like London, Paris, Kenya, Sydney, Australia, Jerusalem, Israel. Speaking all over the world, Japan, speaking in all these countries. And so when I go up, especially in another country, when you're there and people are like, here's the American coming to speak, and really just being able to take my wife to the London Eye, or going to the Eiffel Tower in Paris, like those moments, like people are actually paying me to come here and speak to them, and I get to see all this amazingness. I get to go and have a croissant in Paris. I get to go into a pub in London and have bangers and mash. Those are surreal moments to me.
What did you think of the London Eye? Obviously, honestly.
I thought it was crowded, but I thought it was pretty cool. I thought it was very cool.
I found it good going up, but boring coming down. Because once you get to the highest point, you've seen everything you want to see, and then you just see the things getting bigger as they come back down to you.
I just think that entire area on the Thames there is amazing to see. when you're up there and to see it all, and to even see what I want to say, it's the headquarters of MI6. You see it in all the James Bond movie, and then you see it there in your person, like, that's in the movie. I see that in the movie.
Yeah. Did you feel like James Bond that night?
I did.
Yeah. All us Englishmen are basically like James Bond.
Are you?
No, not really. I think most Americans, from my experience, seem to think that we're either like James Bond or Hugh Grant. That seems to be the two English people that people from America and the world focus in on.
I definitely thought people in London were extremely friendly. I'm not going to say anything negative, but your neighbors over there in Paris, I didn't think they were as friendly.
Go on, say it.
Yeah,
go on, Kimanzi, you'll never be invited back.
Yeah, but I thought people in London were extremely friendly, and it's an amazing city. I love the bus system. I love the double-decker buses. I love how easy it is to get around in the city. I just love that.
So the talking from somebody who has created their own business, moved through to writing, everything has been quite self-contained. You're suddenly now being asked to stand up in front of people. Was that terrifying, or was that just a natural, let me out, I'm ready to do this, this is what I want to do?
No, absolutely not. It was extremely terrifying. When the book started selling and I started getting like a lot of exposure online, I got an email from a conference in West Virginia, and they're like, hey, we've seen what you're doing with social media. Can you come speak at our conference? Tell us what you're doing. And my immediate reply right away was, no, I'm not a speaker. I won't be coming. And then my wife saw this and she's like, what? And I'm like, yeah, I'm not going to speak. And she's like, yeah, guess what? You are. And I'm like, well, since I didn't write her the love letters and all this, I might as well go, right? So the cool thing was being on the plane, and people are like, hey, what are you going to West Virginia for? I'm like, oh, I'm a speaker. I'm going there to speak at a conference. They're like, wow, that's so cool. But
was it first class?
It was first class.
Was that like the first time that you'd been on first class?
It was the first time I've been on first class, although that was the flight from Milwaukee, where I live, to Charlotte. But from Charlotte to West Virginia was on this like little plane that had propellers. And that was like deathly terrifying. So
playing Buddy Holly music all the time.
Yeah, well, in the airport there in West Virginia is actually where they've had a few crashes, because the runway is like on a hill. So if the pilot misses it, we're going to be going right down the hill. So that was kind of terrifying. But the first time that I went up to speak, David, I walked up on that stage. I saw that crowd looking at me. I walked right back down. I'm like, there's no way I could do this. I was terrified. And there was another speaker who was like, hey, I was like having a panic attack. The speaker's like, hey, man, guess what? I'm like, what? He's like, they're here to see you. You're the expert. They're here to see you. Go up there and have fun. That's all you got to do, is go up there and have fun. And like that advice has really stuck with me till today. So now when I'm speaking, I always bring a bag of candy, and I'm throwing out candy to the audience. And even though we're adults, we still love candy. So that will lighten up the mood. I'll give away a couple books. And now it's a blast. But back then it was absolutely terrifying.
It's interesting how one thing leads to another, because I've actually gone the opposite route. For the last 20, 30 years, I've been used to standing up in front of crowds. And I remember the very first time I had to do a presentation, I was 17 years old. And my manager said, oh, there'll be about 50 people there. And honestly, something fell over inside me. And I thought, I can't do this. This is beyond me. I don't want to do this. And he said, oh, there's only going to be 50 people there. And he gave me a bit of advice. To this day, I still use. And he said, they don't know what you're going to say, so they don't know if you've messed up or not. And I found that absolutely liberating, that it didn't have to be word perfect. You only have to get your message over. So when I did go and do that, I opened the curtains, went outside. There was about 250 people out there. And he did the right thing. He lied to me to get me to that point, because I don't think I would have pushed myself that far. So now I'm in this situation now, behind the mic. First time I did it, well, it's still, I hold my hand up, it's still quite terrifying. so that, you know, I'm communicating with you, trying to think of the right questions to ask, all those kind of things, because it's a different skill set to what I've had before. And every skill set builds on the one before. But you don't know if you're going to be a natural until you actually try it. Do you think you will totally become a natural at speaking, where it will overtake your life and that will be your thing?
Definitely not. I never thought that, but that, like you said, when I got up there and I spoke, and it was like a rush of adrenaline. I told myself to have fun, and I had fun. And from that moment on, I'm like, man, I want to do this more.
Where would you like it to take you? Running training courses of sort of like personalized coaching? Where would you like that kind of... Because it's one-to-one interaction. And even if it's a crowd, it's still one-to-one, because each person is the person that's listening to you, isn't it?
I definitely love to travel, and so I would love to continue that. But in 2012, I spoke at 38 conferences. I was gone like every other week, and that was too much. In 2013, I spoke to 12 conferences, but they were all in different places all over the world. So I love that. I think what I would like to happen on that, the natural progression, is I'd love to have my own conference. That's ever since I started speaking, that's been my dream, is to have my own conference in Maui, to have a conference out there, have people fly out. You're going to come out there, David, when I put the conference out. You're coming out there. You can stay with us.
I've got my special trunks already.
Yep, that's my dream, is to have my own conference, the Are You Living or Existing conference.
Well, a dream is achievable for you, isn't it? Because you've achieved everything you can do. So why is that a dream? Why is that not a plan then?
You're right. It definitely will be a plan when we get settled in, and I look on the books, and it's funny because another person actually asked me, I was thinking about, man, maybe you should do a conference there, and I'd like to help you. And I'm like, wow, that's interesting. So yeah, it's definitely going to be something that's going to happen. So you're going to hear about it first.
I will definitely be there. I promise. If I get an invite, I will be there, because I've actually, the only two states in America that I haven't traveled through is Hawaii and Alaska. I've done every. Oh, wow. I've done every single other one.
You've done more than me.
Yeah. So some of them are amazing. Some of them I can take or leave. But yeah, I'm quite proud to say that I've done that over the last sort of 20 years. I've done a lot of traveling, staying in really dodgy hotels in America.
But it's fun though, isn't it?
Oh, it's great fun. It is great fun. Unfortunately for me, my kids now are getting to the age that they love a road trip. And so probably next year we're planning to sort of go over there and drive wherever. And that's the beauty of America, I always think, that wherever is still good. You don't really have to plan a route. You just have to go and stumble across places.
Yeah, we have an amazing highway system here in the United States. Yeah, you can just go from state to state very easily.
Do you ever have that urge? Because over here, if we commit a crime, then we're kind of just guilty. We just get caught. But over there, like Smokey and the Bandit, do you ever feel like you're sort of running for the border? Do you ever have that urge?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, yeah, I guess technically if you have one problem in one state, you just move right over to another state. Yeah.
And what about if you stood right on the state line and just jumped at the last minute across?
Could the police cross? I don't actually think that they could. I'm sure they would work together, and have somebody on the other side, but technically, no, by jurisdiction, they can't.
That's great, isn't it? That's what I would do. Stand right on the line, wait to the very last minute. It's like when a lift is dropping. At the very last minute, I would just jump, and then I'd be free.
Yeah. Well, unless the cop went nuts and like threw a nightstick at you or something like that.
And then I would have them for assault. That's what I would do.
Yeah. And then you could sue them here and get a big settlement.
I would bring them down. So, Kimanzi, obviously you've got the new book coming out about marriage. Well, when is that being released?
I'm putting the finishing touches on it and getting ready to send it to my publisher. So I will keep you up to date on.
And the conference in Hawaii, when are we setting a date for that? When's that going to be in your mind?
That will be before the end of this year, for sure.
Oh, so it's a given then. It's going to happen. You're really.
It's a given. It's going to happen. Now, I've had some, we were joking, but I've had some serious conversation with definite people that I've made connections with on the island. One of them even owns a radio show there. And so, yeah, that's definitely going to happen.
Well, at the very last part of the show, what I want to do is put you on the mic. And this is the part of the show called The Sermon on the Mic, where we play a bit of music to build the mood, and then I step away and let the presenting duties fall perfectly in your lap. And you speak to your younger self, and you speak to the audience, and you tell them about generally what you feel about the life is out there for them if they only take action. Are you up to the challenge on that?
Always. I'm always ready.
Right. Well, so when the music stops, sir, and you can sing along while it's playing, it's over to you, Kimanzi Constable.
Here we go with the best bit of the show. The sermon on the mic. The sermon on the mic.
So if you haven't heard anything up to this point, listen to this. Life is short. And it's kind of become a cliche, but it's the truth. Life is short. And time is the one resource we can't get back. We won't get back. Once it's gone, it's gone. Each day that you wake up is a gift. It's a beautiful gift. And you have to treat it that way. We have so many dreams and hopes and wishes, and we look at them and we're like, I want to be this and I want to be that. And we look at the big picture, and that big picture is frightening. It almost seems impossible. But instead of looking at that big picture of what you want to do with your life and the changes you want to make, break it down to day by day. What do I need to wake up and what do I need to do today to make this thing happen? I'm not going to look at 2 years from now. I'm going to look at just today. And so I'm going to get up and this is what I have to do today to make this thing happen. And that's what I'm going to do. And when you wake up and you have a bad day, things don't go as planned, everything seems to be going wrong, go to bed, wake up, and it's a new day. It's a new, fresh start. You can do it all over again. You could do it even better and take it one day at a time. And that's all you got to focus on is one day at a time. And when you look up, you're going to realize you're there. You're almost there. And it's not going to seem impossible anymore. But the thing is, you have to start today. We're not guaranteed it tomorrow. Nobody is. Nobody's guaranteed any time in life. So you have to start today. Life is far too short. Whatever it is you want to do, it's not impossible. I was a bread guy, delivering bread on a bread truck, and I wanted to be an author. And now I'm an author, speaker, and a coach, and I'm living my dream life. If I can do it, I know you can do it too. Realize that it's not going to be easy. I'm not sitting here telling you it's going to be easy. It's going to be probably the hardest thing you've done in your life. I'm not telling you that there's not going to be failures. You're going to fail. Here's the thing. Everybody fails. We all fail. The thing that makes people successful is that when they fail, they decide they're going to get back up and they're going to push forward anyways. So you have to decide now, when you fail, are you going to let that failure make you or break you? But I want you to determine that it's not going to break you. You're going to get back up. You're going to keep going. And it's going to take some time. It's probably going to take more time than you think. That's fine. This is a marathon. It's not a race. But if you're determined to get back up every time you fall, you're determined to work hard, to hustle hard, and you're determined that you're going to stick this out for the long haul, you can achieve everything you want to achieve in life. It's totally possible. But it all starts with taking that first step. Wherever you are right now, take that first step. Put your toe in the water. The water's warm. Just take that first step and then keep moving forward. Don't look back. And when you look up, you're going to be living an incredible life. You're going to be happier than you ever been, and you're going to want to pay it forward and help those that are in the same situation as you. So start today.
Powerful words, Kimanzi. I really would like to thank you for taking the time to be with us today, sitting in your Hawaii mansion with the sun beating down on you. Oh no, you've gone to Milwaukee now, haven't you? You've moved back there.
Yeah. 12 days.
12 days, and then you'll be living the dream. So I wish you the best with your move and for your family. Obviously, we wish you the best with the new book and the conference and everything that's going on in your life. If you do ever end up in the United Kingdom, hopefully we can meet up and I will share a plate of bangers and mash with you. And really, anything that's in your life, give us a shout and come back on the show and tell us what's happening, because there is so much movement in our lives. We will continue to join up those dots forever. And joining up those dots is the only way to build our future. Kimanzi Constable, thank you very much.
That's the end of Join Up Dots. You've heard the conversation. Now it's time for you to start taking massive action. Create your future, create your life. It's the only life you've got. And we'll be back again real soon. And join up dots, join up dots, join up dots, join up dots. Join up dots.